Slima double murder suspects could be released on bail next week. Hunters shoot down protected birds in Delimara, and Eve Bonello lays into Cyrus Engera during a fiery debate. All this and more on today's episode of Lovin Daily. Hello Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another episode of Lovin Daily. I'm Julian Bonnici. We've got an action-packed episode for you today, and stay tuned for the end because we've got an interview with Vassallo. He's one of the new PN MPs who have just joined Parliament, so stay tuned for that. On to our first story. So Daniel Muka and Viktor Dragomanski, the two men charged with the shocking double murder of Christian Pandolfino and Ivo Maciekowski, could be released on bail next week, with the compilation of evidence dragging on almost 20 months after the horrific crime. So just for those of you who don't know the case at all, Pandolfino and Maciekowski were murdered late at night in their Slima home on 18th August 2020 in what's suspected to be a botched robbery. 3 men have so far been charged with the murder: Muka, Dragomanski, and a third man, Jesper Christiansen. So the people could be released on bail because a bill of indictment is yet to be released against either Muka or Dragomanski. Without an indictment, the presumption of innocence prevents any person from being held against their will for an extended period. Under Maltese law, the Maltese courts have set that limit at 20 months. However, never-ending delays in Malta's very poor judicial system mean that criminals are often able to walk out of prison pending their drawn-out cases. Muka himself was even out on police bail for the attempted murder of 3 police officers and a jewelry heist when he allegedly murdered Pandolfino and Maciekowski. Muka in that case was only out of bail because of the 20-month limit. Now, sources have told Lovin Malta that a bill of indictment could be issued at the 11th hour, keeping the 2 men behind bars for the time being. However, this is not the first time it's happened. Andrew Manjon, the man charged with murdering his estranged partner Eleanor Manjon Walker in 2016, was let out of bail for that crime, and then was eventually let out on bail for another crime, for a robbery he committed. He has still not faced a trial for either of the 2 cases. For those of you who don't know, how the delays in Malta's court system is a major issue plaguing the country. While we don't really exactly know the precise length of criminal cases, an EU study found that Malta's delays are some of the longest in Europe, sometimes taking 3-4 years to reach a conclusion. It's a really worrying scenario that wasn't addressed at all by the previous Justice Minister. Let's hope his replacement will actually make sure that the issue reaches the top of the agenda, particularly when you understand the pain victims and the family of victims feel seeing a supposedly guilty party, for that matter, walk away just because of a technicality. On to our next story. There was a fiery debate on TVM last night between PN MP Eve Bonello and PL MP Cressida Gala, the 2 babies of the Parliament from each side of the political divide. However, what really struck out was when Eve Bonello was asked literally what was the difference between the PN and PL, and she said the difference is clear. The PN have a European Parliament president, and the PL has an MEP found guilty of sex crimes and wants to present himself as a progressive. This was a clear reference to Roberta Metsola and Cyrus Engera, who was actually convicted of distributing revenge porn back in 2014 before he became an MEP for the Labour Party. Now, in reply, Engera said, politics teaches you to speak less, listen more, and work much harder. It takes time to learn. However, he added, it's clear that there are people who haven't yet learned this message. So Eve Bonello has really come out swinging. She's the youngest MP in Maltese history, and she's already had some very strong words for the PL. She referenced how the PN never had blood on its hands, and even referencing the Prime Minister's alleged relationship with alleged criminals, even holding up Malta Today articles in front of TV host Silvio Balsan, who actually owns the program. Now, obviously, it was generated a lot of comments online, so let us know what you think about the whole debate in the comments below. On to our next story, a very tragic incident on Malta's coast once again. Hunters have been caught shooting down protected marsh harriers in the Tassilge area in Delimara during the night whilst everyone slept. So night vision footage captured by BirdLife Malta and sent to Lovin Malta shows the moment a trio of hunters shot down a number of birds, with 4 of those birds being found injured today, one of whom was actually dead. In a statement, the BirdLife Malta said, the protected birds of prey were just trying to roost in the valley and were illegally targeted during the night. Thankfully, BirdLife teams remained on site, and sort of followed the reports and made sure, everything, was clear. Unfortunately, the video left many of those in shock about what exactly happened. In the statement, BirdLife CEO Mark Sultana simply said, this is shocking and unacceptable. We should not beat around the bush. This massacre is in the hands of those who have given amnesties to hunters who have declared over 500,000 protected birds in their taxidermy collections. Sultana laid into the Wild Birds Regulation Unit, even referencing, our current Minister Gozo, Minister Clint Camilleri, over what he's doing about it, demanding that the Prime Minister should take immediate action and vetting the list of protected species. Now, obviously, this comes as the spring hunting season controversially opened once again. Lovin Malta did reach out to the FKNK lobby, namely its president, Lucas McAuliffe, to get his take on the thing. He said, to us, anyone who participates in such actions is not a hunter. We do not consider them part of us. Now, while I understand McAuliffe's sentiment, it's really clear, I've said this a million times, it's high time hunters, particularly the hunting lobby, starts policing themselves and starts enforcing themselves. Time and time again, we're expecting BirdLife to do it, we're expecting a very poorly resourced police unit to do it, when in actual fact, hunters have the expertise and the knowledge to actually police the ones who are committing illegalities in their area. On to our next story in nearby Mosta. So Chiku Fenek, a notorious murderer in Malta's former field, is currently getting a concrete makeover, with the field going from an overgrown and bushy sort of area into being drowned, in concrete, sort of Malta's, I think, favorite substance at the moment. For those of you who don't know, the Chiku Fenek's former field is being regenerated, into a garden for the public to enjoy, named after the late Victor Calvania. However, photos released by Bird's Eye View show that most of, the supposedly green recreational space has actually been taken over by wide concrete pots, gym machines, just so many, concrete lanes, literally cutting off any sort of green spaces for us to play on, expecting children to ultimately, I guess, play on concrete. It should be noted that cement and concrete are actually damaging to the healthy soil in the area, and it's actually, a lot of critics I saw online, were upset, that this field was known for, having lush trees, really being a really beautiful green area, and now it's just become, another sort of concrete mess that the country has to deal with. On to our last story, a really moving story from obviously the war still going on in Ukraine. Lorna and Doug, 2 Maltese nationals, have been raising funds to support refugees fleeing violence in Ukraine following the Russian government's invasion of the country. Lovin Malta was sent footage and comments, you can see them all on lovinmalta.com, about Lorna and Doug's journey to Ukraine to provide food, which will be distributed to residents who live in areas that have really seen limited supplies after constant shelling by Russian forces. This week, Lorna and Doug were able to deliver 2 tons of food supplies to the Ukrainian city of Odessa after crossing the Moldavian border from the town of Palancha. You can see, this is a quote from there, you can see the somber atmosphere of what used to be a bustling city. The roads and cities are littered with soldiers and checkpoints and everything else that needs to remind you what these people have been facing for the past 8 weeks. At the Ukrainian-Moldovan border, the team came across a tent of refugees and where they were sort of helping and speaking to management. The supplies were then collected and transferred to who they say are the true Ukrainian superheroes who are sort of battling around these towns and sort of fighting the Russian invasion at the moment. If you wish to donate, you can do so via BOV Mobile, Revolut. All the details can be found on lovinmalta.com, so be sure to check it out. The story obviously is a really kind reminder reminder of how, people have really opened their arms and people are really trying to be generous, to the Ukrainian refugees who are really struggling. As I said the other day, I really just wish it was hopefully extended to the many other refugees, particularly the ones in our country who are maybe of a different skin color. That's it from us for now. Stay tuned. After this very short break, we're going to have an interview with Ian Vassallo, a new PN MP.
Welcome back to Lovin Daily. I'm Tim Diacono. With me now is Ian Vassallo, one of the PN's several new MPs elected in the last election. Hi Ian, thank you for being with me here today.
Hi Tim, thanks for your invite. It's a pleasure to be on Lovin Malta and the Lovin Daily, and it's a pleasure to also address the people at home.
So Ian, yesterday the PN announced its new shadow cabinet. Many people got a role, including yourself. You're now the PN's new spokesperson on mental health and primary health care. So there's a bit of a discussion going on today about the fact that the only people who are left out were the I wouldn't say the old faces, but the ones who had been there the longest, whereas the ones who were recently elected are all rewarded. What are your thoughts on this new shadow cabinet?
Tim, l-ħaġa il-Kabernar Grek ġbu li għati shadow cabinet li huwa b'saħħtu ħafna, huwa b'saħħtu għaliex anka mar ordri għall-ministeri li jeżistu iżda fetaħ ukoll shadowing differenti, pereżempju li huwa tiegħi li l-ewwel darba ħajkonna shadow ministry fejn ħankun qed niddiskutu l-kura primarja, il-primary healthcare ġifieri li tinvolvi fiha il-polikliniċi, is-sistema kollha tas-saħħa li għandha fil-komunità. Kif ukoll ħajkonna wkoll ħankun qed nixxedowja l-kura mentali, il-problema tas-saħħa mentali li qiegħda tolqot il-ħafna persuni fid-djar, forsi ħafna nies għadhom anke jbatu bl-istigma, jew anke jbatu li jibżgħu li jersqu anke għall-kura u għall-għajnuna fejn hemm bżonn. Però biex ma naqbadx mal-ewwel fuqha, ix-shadow cabinet huwa magħmul minn tim sabiħ ħafna li konna anke kandidati ħbieb kollha kemm aħna tim wieħed. Shadow cabinet magħmul minn nies diversi li ġej mill-komunità u mis-setturi tagħhom diversi. Għandna inġiniera, jiena podiatrist, ġej mill-Allied Health, jiena gburi ħafna li anke ħanku wieħed mill-tieni wieħed fl-istorja tal-Parlament Malti. Iżda wkoll
Tieni podiatrist jew tieni
it-tieni Allied Health Professional l-ewwel podiatrist. Iżda wkoll peress li aħna din tim li ġej mill-loqsma kollha li jeżistu fis-settur tam barra, ħankun qegħdin allura nisimgħu aktar ma' nies biex nkunu oppożizzjoni b'saħħitha, oppożizzjoni tagħmel differenza f'dan il-pajjiż.
Okay, u l-fatt li ħafna daw l-erba' nies ħallew barra.
Ovvjament dik hija deċiżjoni tal-kap li tittieħed. Il-kap tal-Partit Nazzjonalista deċida fuq dawk il-punti, nemmen li huwa kulħadd huwa validu, nemmen ukoll li n-nies li tħallew barra huma nies li kienu validi anke f'elezzjonijiet ta' qabel u anke fil-kabinet, shadow cabinet ta' qabel, nemmen li wkoll huma ħajkunu qegħdin jgħinu lilna biex inkomplu naħdmu għaliex jiena nemmen li vera hemm uċuħ ġodda, eċċetera, però l-partit irid ikun ħolqa u nisġa ta' nies li huma kemm esperjenzati fuq ukoll ġodda biex inkunu nistgħu nkunu oppożizzjoni b'saħħitha. Hawnhekk insellem ukoll lill-kandidati kollha li kienu tal-Partit Nazzjonalista u anke il-min kien fix-shadow cabinet ta' qabel li minn għandhom aħna ħankunu qegħdin anke nitgħalmu biex inkunu oppożizzjoni b'saħħitha.
So a bit about your portfolio, mental health, primary health care. What are your immediate focuses? What's you haven't looked at it too long, you haven't had much of a chance yet, but your first glance at the sector, what are the immediate priorities for the two sectors?
Mill-istorja professjonali tiegħi tem jiena mill-żmien twil naħdem fil-kura primarja, nibdew bil-kura primarja fejn ħdimt ma' diversi professjonisti oħrajn, nsemmi hawnhekk fiżjoterapisti, tobba, speċjalisti tad-diabete u diversi speċjalisti oħrajn. Nemmen li bl-esperjenza li għandi, anka bl-istudju anka li qed nagħmlu illum il-ftit ċans li kellna mill-bieraħ llum iltqajna ma' diversi professjonisti u anka nies li huma interessati fis-settur, ħankunu qegħdin naħdmu biex l-ewwel ħaġa il-kura primarja nollu livell tagħha. Kura primarja jattendu fiha ħafna u ħafna pazjenti għall appuntamenti diversi li jkollhom u nemmen li aħna bħala oppożizzjoni ħankunu qegħdin hemmhekk naraw biex l-ewwel ħaġa ikollna appuntamenti li jkunu deni għall-pazjenti, ġifieri jkunu appuntamenti li l-pazjent jingħata kwalità u jingħata l-ħin tiegħu li hemm bżonn.
Titkellmu fuq il-health clinics daw fit
Iva, għandek il-polikliniċi, għandek il-bereċ li dejjem ħadmu, però hemm fejn nistgħu navvanzaw. Sfortunatament għandna kliniċi li llum fil-5 ta' filgħaxija jgħalqu. U jgħallowt kollu fuq Mater Dei, hemmhekk ikollna l-waiting list, ikollna n-nies li jistennew fl-emerġenza.
Hemm problema li ħafna health clinics anke daw li jibqgħu miftuħin dejjem jirreferu kważi kull każ jew ħafna mill-każijiet li l-emerġenza anke jekk ma tkunx hemm bżonn.
Naqbel miegħek u hemmhekk fejn iridu investu anke kemm fil-professjonist, ġifieri jridu nagħtuh training. Irridu nkunu hemmhekk biex nagħtu l-għajnuna, però anke fit-teknoloġija u fl-apparat li hemm bżonn. Naraw kif ma' żmien pereżempju fil-leġislatura tal-Partit Nazzjonali issa kien ġie upgraded ħafna l-Mosta Health Center u hemmhekk qegħdin isiru anke kirurġiji żgħar, eċetera. Nemmen li bħala partit ħankunu qegħdin noffru s-sosten tagħna u l-għajnuna u l-xogħol tagħna biex anke nkomplu mmexxu dan. Il-kliniċi għandhom ikunu miftuħin, għandhom ikunu hemmhekk jagħtu servizz tajjeb, mhux biss għan-numri biex intallaw in-numri, iżda biex nagħtu kwalità ta' servizz. Jekk naqleb imbagħad fuq il-mental health. Il-mental health hija xi ħaġa li għall-Partit Nazzjonista hija l-qalbu ħafna. Kien hemm jiena, kien hemm anke nsemmi hawnhekk il-kollega tiegħi il-Ġuli Żara li tkellmet ħafna wkoll fuq il-mental health u l-esperjenzi li għaddiet minnhom, insellmilha minn hawnhekk. L-ewwel ħaġa rridu naħdmu bħala mental health hija li tispiċċa l-istigma. Issa l-istigma tista' tispiċċa billi kemm bħala aħna nies li qegħdin hemm barra kif il-mod ta' kif nitkellmu. Il-ġurnaliżmu, hawnhekk nistieden lilek ninaqgħod magħna wkoll biex aħna nagħmlu imbuttatura kemm jista' jkun biex nuru iva daw in-nies li jbagħtu mill-kundizzjonijiet mediċi fil-mentali, saħħa mentali huma l-istess bħal min ibati bid-diabete, bħal min ibati bi problemi respiratorji. Din hija kondizzjoni li tista' taffettwa l kulħadd. Sfortunatament tista' taffettwa lilek, lit-tfal, lill-kbar, il-kulħadd. Allura aħna rridu nkunu hemmhekk speċjalment biex nibdew biex naqtaw l-istigma. Xi ħaġa oħra hija li rridu naraw kif nimmexxu l-qudiem it-tip ta' kura li tingħata bħala stat. Ġifieri rridu noqogħdu attenti kif nistgħu mmexxu l-qudiem kemm l-Isptar Monte Carmeli, aħna wkoll proponejna li jkollna sptar addizzjonali li huwa anke qrib ta' Mater Dei. U rridu naraw kif anka professjonalment nistgħu nimxu l-qoddim. Hawnhekk nixtieq anke nistieden u nirringrazzja dawk li kellmuni llum kemm li huma pazjenti kif ukoll professjonisti biex jingħaqdu iva miegħi ħalli flimkien inkunu nistgħu niddiskutu il-way forward kif nistgħu nimxu l-qoddim biex inkunu nistgħu nagħtu da. Esperjenzi fil-mental health iltqajt ma' ħafna tim u sfortunatament tibda tisma' pereżempju tfal li jkunu għaddejjin mill-eżamijiet jaqbadhom ċertu ansjetà li twassal kemm għal depressjoni u kemm anke biex iwasslu għal konsegwenzi korroħ. Ġifieri jridu noqogħdu attenti li anke nittargetjaw li tfal anke żgħar fl-età, ġifieri tfal ta' 10-14-il sena li bdew il-ħajja barra u rridu nieħdu ħsieb. Nieħdu ħsieb ukoll nies li għaddejjin minn ħajja tajba f'daqqa waħda ġiet problema bħalma kienet il-pandemija. Irridu wkoll noqogħdu attenti għan nies li pereżempju qegħdin f'relazzjoni u ma jibqgħux ma' sieħab jew sieħba tagħhom. Daw iridu jkunu nies li rridu nilħquhom fil-bidu. Jiġifieri rridu naħu l-istigma biex huma jersqu jitkellmu magħna u nkunu nistgħu nersqu qrib tagħhom biex nkunu nistgħu nofrulhom.
Those about like coping with tragic events.
Eva, it's about coping with tragic events and even small things that happen in life, but they build up slowly. So, meta rridu naraw li hemm ċertu build up ta' problemi, etc., irid ikun il-persuna jkun aware, ikun jaf li hawn l-għajnuna, hawnhekk insellem ukoll id-diversi organizzazzjonijiet li jeżistu f'Malta biex huma jkun jistgħu jersu qrib u ma jiddejqux isaqsu għall-għajnuna. Iridu wkoll naraw li barra li nagħtu l-kura immedjata ikollna pjan fit-tul biex tingħata dik il-kura wkoll.
Mount Carmel, does it feature in this plan at all, or you mentioned sptar addizzjonali, mhux sptar minn flok Mount Carmel, għalfej?
Mela, Mount Carmel huwa sptar li kienet jintuża l diversi snin, issa wasal iż-żmien li jiena ħankun qed niddiskuti anke mal diversi stakeholders u nies li qegħdin fis-sistema biex naraw jekk wasalniex biex immorru għal sptar ġdid jew kellha nirrenovaw l-isptar li jeżisti. Matul l-aħħar snin deret fil-pubbliku li bida jsir ċertu bdil, eccetera, però kien wisq minimu u ma wasalx biżżejjed. Issa jekk niddeċidu li ħanibqgħu b'dak l-isptar rridu nkunu aħna li ħankomplu nimbuttaw biex isir immedjatament dak il-bdil u aħna ħanibqgħu insostnu wkoll li jkollna sptar li huwa anke qrib aktar tas-saħħa ċentrali ħalli inneħħu anke din l-idea li l-isptar mentali huwa dak biss, jista' kif tmur hemmhekk biss, imma anke ċertu każijiet akuti jistgħu jiġu indirizzati wkoll fl-isptar ġenerali.
What about the concept of people actually living in Mount Carmel?
Rigward il-konċett li n-nies jgħixu f'Mount Carmel hija bżonn għal ċertu tip ta' kura li tingħata u li jkollok sosten u anke monitoring il-ħin kollu fuq dak irid jibqgħu u jrid jingħata wkoll il-qudiem.
So, one of the problems facing primary health care, mental health, but also health in general is there seems to be this constant issue of staff leaving, right?
Yes.
Either few people joining, and even the ones that do join end up leaving, either go overseas or they quit the industry altogether. For some mention burnout, some mention other issues. What do you think can be done to keep the healthcare staff and the nurses that we have over here motivated enough to stay in the job?
L-ewwel ħaġa Tim, matul is-snin jiena naħdem fl-isptar, naħdem ukoll fil-privat u niltaqa' ma' ħafna professjonisti. Matul is-snin il-problema tal-istaff dejjem tiżdied. Sfortunatament qed nitilfu ammont ta' nurses ta' kull ġimgħa, ta' kull sena u anke dan inkludi wkoll konsulenti, professjonisti oħrajn, fiżjoterapisti, kollha mhuwiex just in-nurses. It's a quite big number, Tim. Li inkwetanti ħafna lix inti trid tqis li Malta bħala gvern, bħala università, noffru courses li jinvestu ħafna flus fihom u accredited ħafna mal-Ewropa mad-dinja kollha. Sfortunatament minħabba l-kundizzjonijiet tax-xogħol, ġifieri minħabba il-paga. Ġifieri din hija xi ħaġa li kulħadd isemmi meta tqabbel paga tagħna lokalment mal-pagi ta' barra hija differenti. U anke ċertu kundizzjonijiet oħra bħal huma l-ħinijiet tax-xogħol, il-kundizzjonijiet tax-xogħol. Hemm xi ħaġa tajba wkoll għaliex il-Maltin aħna ħobbu nkunu avventurużi, nħobbu mmorru nistudjaw barra, mbagħad qegħdin niltaqgħu ma' ċertu kundizzjonijiet li jogħġbuna iktar. U hemmhekk qegħdin in-nies jibqgħu hemm barra. Ġifieri Malta rridu nkunu li nattiraw li l-prodott Malti jibqa' Malta. Minix qed ngħid li huwa ħażin li jkollna barranin, eċċetera, però problema kbira, speċjalment fil-kura primarja, fil-kura li nagħtu fid-djar u anke l-isptar hija li meta jkollna ħaddiema li huma barranin speċjalment qed ikollna il-barrier tal-language. Ġifieri jkollna nies li ma jifhmux it-trattament li jridu jieħdu jew trattament li qegħdin jagħmlu minħabba sempliċement għax forsi ma jafux biżejjed bl-Ingliż. Speċjalment naraw anzjani li joħorġu n-ners mid-dar jew minn tkun tqajt magħhom jgħidulek jiena ma fhimt xejn. Ġifieri din hija problema kbira li rridu żgur aħna bħala oppożizzjoni nkun qegħdin nafsu fuqha.
Is it just about increasing the salaries though, or is it more complex than that?
It is more complex than that. Apart from the salaries, you have the conditions, the working hours. During COVID we saw a lot of people li waqgħet fuqhom ċertu burden tax-xogħol ikbar, nies li kellhom anke jitilqu mal-familji tagħhom. U din affettwathom ukoll. Kundizzjonijiet barra anke l-ħinijiet huma wkoll ċertu nies li huma demotivati. They are literally demotivated to work. Ġifieri jekk aħna ħanaraw li jkollna sptar li anke jimmotiva, jagħtik is-sens li inti tippartieni għall-isptar, li inti tieħu gost mur għax-xogħol hemmhekk ħajkollna nies li jibqgħu iktar hemmhekk. U dik nemmen li jekk bid-diskussjoni mal-stakeholders, mal-ħaddiema speċjalment, mal-kollegi tiegħi, nistgħu nibdew norqtu ċertu punti li nistgħu iva ntejbu il-kondizzjonijiet tax-xogħol u mbagħad minn hemmhekk anke jgawdi l-pazjent li qed id-dar għaliex int tkunu qed intuħ servizz aħjar.
So let's move on a bit onto the. There's been quite a bit of the party into the PN. There's been quite a bit of discussion post-election, obviously, about many different opinions about why the PN lost, many opinions contrasting with each other as well. So what you've seen so far, both in your campaign, but also the aftermath of it, what do you think the sore point is, and what do you think the PN can do to actually win an election? Or is it game over for the party and we have to just and that's it?
It's not game over. I'm 29 and I'm here. We're a good team and we're working to not have a game over. Il-Partit Nazzjonalista huwa partit li qed jiġġedded matul is-snin, nemmen li jekk aħna ħammorru partit maqut, partit mimli bidejat, mimli bnies li lesti li jaħdmu bħalma qegħdin, nemmen li ħankun nistgħu nimxu l-qudiem biex anke l-elezzjoni li jmiss iva nkunu ta' oppożizzjoni f'daw il-5 snin, però nkunu partit li jkun jista' anke jirbaħ l-elezzjoni. Jiena nibda billi nsemmi pereżempju jiena stess. Forsi tul il-kampanja u anke fis-snin ta' qabel ma konniex biżżejjed, forsi ma nilħaqx in-nies kollha, forsi ma wassalniex il-messaġġ tagħna biżżejjed. Bħalissa fil-Partit Nazzjonalista għaddejn anke minn żmien li qegħdin anke nerġgħu niġġeddu, qegħdin niġġeddu bil-mod li l-ewwel ħaġa qegħdin naraw forsi konna żbaljati f'din il-kampanja.
That's fine, just stop you there. I mean, a lot of candidates did do house visits. They went a lot of house visits. I know this. So what's the issue though? That there aren't enough people, there aren't enough assistants to help spread the message?
Jista' jkun forsi li l-messaġġ ma kienx qed jasal biżżejjed għand in-nies u dak ma kienx qed jasal jew minħabba li n-nies ma konniex biżżejjed forsi qed nispjegawlhom. Jista' jkun ukoll forsi kellna bżonn aktar media coverage, jista' jkun ukoll forsi kellna bżonn aktar li l-proposti tagħna jkunu mfehma differenti. Nemmen li kena programm elettorali li kien tajab ħafna, kena kampanja li kienet tajba, però ma kienx biżżej biex tasal għand in-nies. Jista' jkun ukoll kien hemm fatturi oħra li aħna qegħdin niddiskutu bħal pereżempju forsi ma konniex qrib ta' ċertu gruppi tal-popolazzjoni plus kellek.
Liema gruppi?
Forsi konna ftit il-bot, forsi ma ħaqniex biżżejjed iż-żgħażagħ, forsi kellna gruppi oħra forsi ma femux l-opinjoni tagħna. Kellna nies pereżempju li huma ta' ċertu delizzi li ma fehmunix li aħna ħankunu favur delizzi. Nemmen li issa għandna qudiemna 5 snin li ħankunu tim wieħed taħt il-kap li ħankun qegħdin naħdmu aktar biex nifformulaw aktar daw il-viżjoni li kellna u nwaslu għand in-nies għaliex meta aħna għamilna il-programm elettorali, aħna ħdimna ma' diversi nies, diversi stakeholders fuq daw l-aħħar 15 snin. U kienu proposti tajbin ħafna. Issa rridu nkunu aħna li nkomplu naħdmu fuqhom.
So when people who you meet like give their feedback on the party to you, what's the biggest criticism you hear? That this like is a good proposal, I would never even heard of it, or do some say as well that the party gives mixed messages? Sometimes you don't exactly know what the party is because one time it says this, then another person says something else and there's a bit of confusion. Jista'
jkun tkun daqsxejn mit-tnejn ukoll. Ġili kellek ċertu nies li forsi ma femux l-idea jew ma femux kif kien qed jitkellem ċertu kandidat. U allura jkollok daqsxejn mixed messages. Però il-bażi tal-messaġġ tagħna kien messaġġ tajjeb, kien messaġġ li qed jara l-Malta kif tista' tmur il-qudiem, kif tista' timxi l-qudiem minn l-aħħar snin li kellna ta' kabinet tal-Gvern Laburista fejn aħna tkellimna kif ħanollu l-kwalità ta' Malta, ħanollu isem Malta u aħna kburin anke bl-istorja tal-Partit Nazzjonalista fejn waslitna sal-lum.
In Vassallo, just one final thing. This Hagi, the nickname, can you explain it just to clarify it for everyone because you have the nickname that keeps appearing next to your name?
Yes, fil-fatt jina Vassallo magħruf bħala l-Hagi, hija laqam tal-familja li ilu ġej għal diversi ġenerazzjonijiet li kien ingħata lil nannu tiegħi 5 generations back għaliex kienu b'saħħithom, etc. hija xi ħaġa sabiħa li fil-lokalitajiet bħalma jiena ġej mir-Rabat, mill-lokalijiet tal-erjas tagħna li mġar ħasebux eċetera, kulħadd ikollu l-laqam tal-familja. U hija sabiħa anke li n-nies jidentifikaw bih. Jiena gburi bih u nħares il-qoddim li anke ħibqa' miegħi jiena ħanibqa' man-nies.
Taf eżatt minn fejn ġej il-laqam.
Ħafna nies jgħidu li kien in-nannu kien b'saħħtu u kienu tawlu ġej minnaħa tal-kelma ħaġar. Pero hemm ħafna questions ukoll għaliex qisha ma tantx ġriet x'inhi d-definizzjoni però baqa' magħna kiber u baqa' jissemma wkoll.
Ian Vassallo, thank you very much for being with us here today. Thank you for following Lovin Daily. Make sure to follow lovinmods.com and have an evening full of lovin'.